And we're with Dane Blythe. He is a candidate for Virginia Beach City Council. He'll be running at large in November. The seat currently held by Rosemary Wilson. Dane, good to have you with us.
Very good to be with you, John. Thank you.
All right, now who else is in this race?
There are two other candidates, a young lady, Courtney Lalonde, and another young lady, Pam Witham.
Okay, now you would think off the top of your head you've got an incumbent. If you try to split the anti-incumbent vote three ways, incumbent wins hands down. How do you overcome that phenomena?
Yeah, that's always
right
off the
bat.
Yeah, right off the bat. Well, I think if you look at it, I am the conservative, the true fiscal conservative that's running in this race, and light rail is going to be a defining issue as well. So if you look at the breakdown, and the other people can speak to where they stand on light rail. I have been a part of the movement that's looked at that and analyzed the data and made a data-driven decision that is not appropriate for Virginia Beach, and I would strongly encourage citizens to vote no on the referendum that will be coming up. And I will point out that the incumbent, my opponent, has already voted to raise taxes. She voted to raise almost 2 cents on the real estate tax rate to start funding light rail. She actually opposed the citizens having another referendum that was a very straightforward referendum this fall. And it took a lot of work of people led by Mr. Atkinson to make sure that the citizens do have an opportunity to vote up or down on light rail this year. A very straightforward question is, should the city of Virginia Beach spend money to expand light rail from Norfolk to Town Center? So it's very straightforward, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think a majority of voters are going to vote no.
Okay, but it's non-binding, right? So it really doesn't matter anyway. And last time it passed, and I mean, here's the problem with these non-binding referendums. If it passes, everybody says, well, it's non-binding, and they don't like the way it was written. If it gets beat, then those are for it are going to say, well, it's non-binding, and they don't like the way it was written. So kind of a waste of time because nobody pays attention to them anyway. But the bottom line is, when you look at light rail and you look at expanding to Town Center, and then someday when we're all dead, perhaps Virginia Beach, the one city council member who, in my opinion, Dane, told the truth, Ben Davenport, who got elected last cycle. He's a Democrat. We endorsed him. So I'll be right up front. Truth be told, honesty is the best policy. We endorsed Ben for one reason. He told the truth. He said, I'm for light rail, not because it'll have anything to do with traffic, congestion, roads, transportation, but I want to put the stations in the areas where we need development dollars. And so there'll be development around the stations, which increase the commercial tax base, which gives Virginia Beach an opportunity to sprawl. Because the guy was honest, right? Honesty is the best policy. Now, absent of that, why is light rail a bad idea if it can spur development in those areas and the taxes that come in are such that they would eventually pay for the funding of it?
That's a very good question. The $6.6 million study that was conducted, took 2 years, that the city paid for, citizens paid for it, had three conclusions that really stand out to me. So number one, it does nothing to help traffic congestion, and Mr. Davenport's right. That was an early argument of the proponents of light rail, but they've given up on that because now they see that's not the case.
Well, because it's preposterous when you look at the numbers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 2,250 rides a day by 2034. Yeah, that's
preposterous.
No one can support it for that reason. It doesn't do anything to help the environment, and that's was also shown in the study. And in the study, it actually said there's no guarantee of economic development there. Some cities have seen that across the country, usually larger cities, and I'm not saying that there wouldn't be some developers who would not benefit at first. In fact, some of the studies, and I'll quote Randall O'Toole with the Cato Institute, who's done a lot of research on light rail across the country, is a lot of times it's the first developers at the market may make their money, but thereafter the return is not there. And I think also we have to consider, is it simply going to be cannibalization? Are businesses, in other words, going to move from one part of the city to open their restaurant in one of the new SGAs that's there? So again, I don't necessarily buy that would be the case. And also, John, there are other 21st century solutions that we could look at from a mass transit standpoint that would try to help. We're so spread out in Virginia Beach. I don't even think light rail makes sense in that standpoint from an economic development tool. In fact, many of the studies show that buses actually are a greater return on investment as far as real estate goes than even light rail. So I'm proposing that we look at at looking at some of the more heavily traveled bus routes and actually experimentally look at this. And in fact, I'll take this, in a sense, plagiarizing from Councilman Moss because he suggested this, that you actually take some of those heavier traveled routes and make it no charge, look at it for 6 months, and then we can reevaluate it. Can we actually increase ridership to do more to try to relieve traffic congestion? I think that's an idea. There are newer technologies that are coming. In fact, there's a company called SkyTran that actually is personal rapid transit. Very different than light rail. It's looking at, and it is a NASA spinoff. Baltimore's already looking at it. Lagos, Nigeria is looking at it. Israel's actually getting ready to build one where they're almost like little pods that seat anywhere from 2 to 6 people. And that would then offer an alternative where you could come in with our SGAs, that if people are going to gravitate towards more vertical living, which I'm a market-driven guy, if that's where people want to move, that's great. I think Virginia Beach, we have a ton of great neighborhoods, and I think more people will live there. But again, if the market's going to determine where people are going to move, that's fine. I think that'll be good. And one final point, too, on this is with the coming automation with cars, all the car companies are partnering with tech companies in Silicon Valley. I mean, look at Apple, their Project Titan. Look at Google cars, the Mercedes F015. Go to the website and check that out. We are on the verge of a technological transformation in car transportation, and that, to me, is going to be it's going to offer great possibilities. Young people may not have to own cars. They're paying off student debt. They can actually call a car up on their phone to take them. Think about our elderly citizens that right now are driving. I call on doctors' offices for a living, and believe me, some of the people that I see come in, brother, they should not be on the road. But this gives people the independence and the freedom to stay home, and a car could pick them up and take them to the doctor, take them to the grocery store, and then take them back home.
Dane, what's your beef with Rosemary Wilson?
Yeah, I look at this. So 16 years, first of all, that's long enough. That's long enough. She's consistently voted for tax and fee increases. And I talk to a lot of people in a lot of different socioeconomic backgrounds, and there are a lot of people that are hurting out there right now. And it seems like every year we get our real estate taxes go up. Families are not getting a break. In fact, the Wall Street Journal had an article last week that talked about how it's the middle class that's carrying the burden of Obamacare. I'm talking to people who have $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 deductibles. So they're having to pay that money out of pocket before they can even reap the benefits of their insurance. So there are a lot of working families, middle-class families that are suffering. I don't think she's doing anything to help those families. She, frankly, is in the tank for the developers. Look at her voting record. Here's an example as well. A couple years ago, she voted to take $3 million from the Elderly Relief Real Estate Fund and then turned right around and gave $18 million of our hard-earned tax dollars to the Cavalier Associates for their project. That, to me, is putting the priorities in the wrong place.
Well, when you look at the Cavalier project, though, I mean, it's created jobs. I mean, the property was in disarray, right? It was hurting the beach. I mean, wasn't that a good decision that they made?
I don't think so. And again, if the developer's there, I'm all for them. If they want to spend their money and borrow money like anybody else, that's fine. But I don't think it's right that we take taxpayer dollars and fund certain favored developers and then not fund other people. It's almost like who you know and not what you know. And
well, it's crony capitalism.
Thank you.
But that's kind of the way it works at the beach, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to change that, and that's why I'm asking people to vote for me.
All right. What about Mayor Will? What's up with him?
Yeah, well, it's all part of
friend?
No, he seems like a nice gentleman, but I think there's some other candidates that I would rather see get that job.
Will Sessoms, well, he better get reelected, right? Because he gave up his $500,000 annual job at Town Bank, which he basically didn't do anything to make $50,000 as mayor. So he's got to get that mayoral salary coming in, or the guy will be unemployed. Okay, Dane, you're going to get outspent here 25-1. But when I first got to Virginia from Atlanta, Georgia, one of the first people I met with was John Moss. He was running for city council. This must have been 2011 or something. And I had a meeting with him, and I looked at VPAP, and I was new to the area. And I said, well, John, you're getting outspent here 20-1. How can you possibly win? Just help understand, because I don't see how you can possibly win. And he told me something I'll never forget. He said, John, checks vote once. And you know what? He's right. So, look, you're going to get outspent big. How do you win?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I have the support of Councilman Moss, which I think is huge because people really do respect him because he tells the truth. He'll tell it.
He tells it like
no
it is.
nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Just common sense. Exactly. Your
He
logo.
tells it like it is.
He does tell it like it is, and people really respect that. Even if people may disagree with him on something, you know where he stands. There's no mystery. He's very transparent. I've always respected him for that. In fact, I've known John for quite a long while. I followed him as the chairman of the Virginia Beach Taxpayer Alliance. John was in that. He and some other folks started that. Robert Dean, a lot of other very good people who care about families and retirees and liberty and freedom. And John's always been a leader in that. So there's no question about that. He's a man of integrity. I have a great deal of respect for him.
All right, so you mentioned light rail. Dane, what are your other issues?
Yeah, some of one of the other main ones, obviously, is to try to for the city of Virginia Beach to spend our money smarter and more wisely, not on things like $100,000 for flagpoles on Shore Drive, which look great, but they're not necessary. So we really truly need to prioritize our spending and look at public safety, public education, and then public infrastructure first. Anything after that we can look at. There are a lot of other avenues. I think that we could be smarter in the way that we spend. In fact, I would even like to freeze the spending for a year. Let families catch their breath, their financial breath. Because again, we've talked about it. A lot of people are struggling out there. They're working second jobs. They're going to school at night. I have a great deal of respect. In fact, I work with or call in offices where there are a lot of young women who are working one job. They're going to school. They're raising kids. And we need to do something, and we can do something more to try to help them. I have no doubt about that. And that's smarter spending. And let's also work and not keep raising the real estate tax rate, which, as we know, for most people, that's going to hurt their pocketbook more than anything else. If you want to get people fired up, ask them about that utility bill that comes every other month. Mm-hmm. It keeps going up and up and up. We have less and less disposable income. And the thing about it is, John, in the city of Virginia Beach, you've got your power, you've got city council, you've got many of the friends, developers that have access to that. Most of us do not. And we need to do something to try to help the working people out there. And that's the main reason that I'm running.
How do you stand on the arena?
I'm still waiting to see exactly what's going to happen with that. The fact that ESG is going to look to spend their own money, I find encouraging. It will involve, if it does move forward, roughly $78 million of taxpayer money. So, and we'd have to borrow that and, of course, pay the interest on it long term, too.
Right, but they would build the arena self-funded, but that
Right.
would be for the infrastructure that goes
Right.
around the arena, and hopefully, there'd be a tax base there to pay for that.
That spin off that could
I mean,
help.
look,
Yeah.
one of the things is I get some of you candidates on sometimes, and you fall into two factions. There's the, people that want to develop everything, like Ben Davenport, for instance, and then there's the other extreme that they don't want to do anything. Stagnant, no growth, no spending, no development, no anything. I mean, that's not realistic either. I mean, if you're willing to have people come in and build an arena in Virginia Beach, and I don't know, if you build it, they will come, but that's their problem if taxpayer dollars aren't involved. But then obviously if they do that, roads, sewage, I mean, there needs to be taxpayer investment for the infrastructure that would coincide with that, right?
That's right.
Sounds like you would be open to the idea.
Yes, no question about that.
'Cause
Definitely.
You
definitely
just
open.
can't say to everything no,
Correct.
right?
No, that's exactly right. In fact, if you think about it, we really need to diversify the economy in Virginia Beach. So it's exciting that with this high-speed internet cable that's going to come through, that if we can look at off-ramps and maybe we could attract some of the tech companies here, Facebook, Google, whoever, some other companies that are dealing with that. I think that's very, very exciting. The biotech office park that we're looking at, I'm in that industry. I know it well. And there are some very good jobs that are involved with that. I think that would be extremely exciting. We had great news last week about the VA center that's going to open up. I think we could look at spinoffs from that. That would be very, very beneficial and bring good, high-paying jobs into Virginia Beach. That's the key. Why can't we become a center of excellence for artificial intelligence or for cybersecurity? There are a lot of things that we could do to build on the defense industry, but also diversify that would bring good, high-paying jobs. And let's face it, that's what drives the economy. If we can diversify, it'll draw young people in, which is exciting, but you can have a career here. And that's the main thing. Build on what we have right now, tourism and the military. The military especially, we have to make sure that we protect and we make the right decisions to keep the military here. Tons of good jobs there. And then agriculture, we can't forget about that and how important that is to Virginia Beach. But let's build on it.
Dane, you're running against Rosemary Wilson. She's running for a 5th term in Virginia Beach City Council. She's going to be hard to beat. What are the 3 things that you would do differently, tell the voters of Virginia Beach, that you would do dramatically differently than Rosemary Wilson?
Sure. The first thing would be not to continue to raise the real estate tax rate. That's number one. Number two, I wouldn't give our hard-earned tax dollars to special interest groups. I would create a goal would be to create the level playing field so that everybody is on par. You're not playing favorites with people's money, and I would not have raised taxes already to bring light rail to Virginia Beach. And here's another thing. I wouldn't have voted to purchase rail cars that had snow plows and a telecommunication system that didn't sync with the current rail cars in Norfolk right now. Luckily, that mistake was caught, but I would do my homework on those issues.
All right, so you got to do your homework, and sounds like try to be a better steward of the taxpayers' money. What do you think of the mayoral race?
Yeah, that's interesting.
How many candidates are in that?
So the mayor's in, RK is running, and a gentleman named Don Weeks, and another gentleman, George Furman. So to my knowledge, they're the 4 that are running.
George Furman runs for everything, right? He's always running for something.
Yes.
Right, so he's not a factor. So, but look, I mean, Sessoms is going to raise, $1 million? I mean, you're not going to beat him. He's going to get reelected handily. So the question becomes, Sessoms is going to get reelected. The question is, how many incumbents in Virginia Beach are going to get reelected as well? And obviously, Rosemary, one of them. I want to thank Dane Blythe for being with us. More information, Dane, where do you go?
Yeah, please. You can go to the website, which is blytheforcitycouncil.com. Please go to the Facebook page, which is D Blythe for City Council. And then they could also call me at home, too, which is 460-2309. 460-2309. And the website's a great way to go and check things out as well. Facebook.
And that's Blythe for City Council, and that's BLYTHE for City Council. I want to thank Dane for being with us. Dane, in your race, you're going to get outspent 25-1. But so did John Moss, and he won, so there is hope.
There's that David versus Goliath story out there. We're working hard, and we appreciate it, John. Thank you.
Good luck. If there was ever a time where underdogs are going to beat the establishment, it's right now. So we'll see how that plays out.